Welcome to the abridged campaign for Total War Troy, playing as Diomedes, also playing with the Radious Total War overhaul mod that rebalances and changes a bunch of things in the game, which I'll mention as we go along and as the things become relevant. Not that I even read all of the changes. I know what some of the things that changed are, at least. It's different to vanilla, plus this is a DLC to play as Diomedes. We start at Argos with one other town under our control. And we are of course on the Greek side of the Trojan War once that's going to be coming up. We also start with a war against Corinth, who have 3 towns to our north and a nearby army. We'll need to grab a few units before we do anything against them. We also need to check out Diomedes' special mechanics. All the factions have a few things unique to them in this game. So Diomedes firstly has this dominance system. So if we do certain things in our wars, we gain dominance points, which we can spend to make weaker factions take bad deals with us diplomatically. Or if you have loads of dominance, you can confederate weaker factions apparently. So that should speed things up. Let's get some of that dominance. The objectives are mainly things we'll want to be doing anyway, so that should be fine. His other gimmick is that you can create elite versions of any unit in your roster, which is quite nice. You basically send them off to train with one of your strategoi, and you need to unlock more to have more choices for what bonuses these guys will actually give them. For now, we can't do all that much, so I'm just going to make a slightly better slinger unit to test this mechanic out. They'll train for a few turns in the background, and once they're done, you can just recruit them into any army, bypassing usual recruitment rules about being near recruitment buildings. So that's quite useful. We'll be able to add units while campaigning outside of our territory using that mechanic, which I quite like. Before we do anything really, we need to get into the Total War Troy economic shenanigans. I won't be talking about this in this campaign, but in the background, I'll be trading to try and get some of the rarer resources early on to upgrade our buildings faster than you're meant to, which is going to be more valuable the sooner you do it, so I'll be focusing on that in the beginning. We also have a battle to deal with though, because the Corinthians came over with a very small army to attack my slightly bigger army. They have loads of swordsmen, but that's okay because we have a high level axe unit that we start the game with, and in Radious mod, axes have an explicit bonus against sword troops. So that's handy. I think this is one of the things that Radious overhauls, is the whole weapon triangle system. Although it's not a triangle, it's a very complicated shape of each unit directly countering some other unit. But axes will beat swords. Swords I think are good against spears, so we can keep that in mind as we make our attack. We've got some slingers to deal with their archers, who mainly aren't shooting at us due to repositioning. I've got some trash spears who are fast, so I'm sending them on a wide flanking move around the left to show up later. Diomedes himself can essentially just tank all of their units. He is a DLC character and a story character, so he's got various plot armors on him. He'll basically take no damage if we just throw him into the fight and leave him there. Then in come our Argive Axemen, a tier 2 unit that's going to be good against everything in this pile. That's all fine. There's another small battle going on here which I've done the wrong way round. We've got some two-handed axemen locking the enemy's swords in place, while spearmen do a rear charge. You're supposed to do it the other way round. Spearmen have low attack, high defense, and two-handed axemen are the opposite. Well, it still works this way around in this case. I should add, by the way, I am playing on hard difficulty. I can't remember how that affects the difficulty. And I don't know how that will interact with Radious mod, because rebalancing the stats will change what the difficulty levels effectively do, because the difficulty levels just add stats to the enemies. Well, doesn't matter, it seems to be okay for now. We'll see how the difficulty pans out. These archers have one of those weird force field sweeping attacks with their swords, like some of the magical characters, which is interesting. Anyway, the enemy blob just gets absolutely taken down. Diomedes is having fun against the enemy's archer hero. He's probably trash in melee. And soon enough, it's all over and we annihilate them. I've also got the Blood and Gore DLC. I don't think that's actually what it's called, but some Blood DLC, which adds a whole bunch of animations, which is quite nice. Many of them are rather good. Normally I always take on the warriors after a fight to just get your troops back. In this case we don't need to do that because we're standing in our own territory and we barely took any losses anyway. So we get some free extra money after the battle and then just continue standing around to build up our own army. We've also now got a bunch of dominance because we took down their faction leader in that battle. Very nice. We need a lot more to actually do anything, but we'll keep these objectives in mind. The only one that I didn't want to do was to do with sacking a town, but we'll get to that later. For now, we need to advance and do this fight. I think you're supposed to do this fight in the first turn since they start standing right next to you. But by doing it after recruiting a couple of units, we can essentially skip it by just absolutely annihilating them in auto-resolve, and the same thing for the town behind them. So there we go, we've stormed forward, and now it's 3 towns on our side to 2 on Corinth's side. We've grabbed the advantage. Plus, for a while, they're not going to have many units because we've just killed a whole bunch of them. So we might as well keep this momentum going. All looking good. Even more dominance has been gained. I was checking here because I was unable to remember if that was the settlement I was supposed to sack, but it's actually the next one. I usually don't sack settlements because it's not worth it, although I don't remember in Troy if it's balanced to be explicitly worth it, and maybe the Radious mod changes that as well. I now made what could be a mistake. Hard to say. Essentially, I needed to go on and attack the next Corinthian settlement, and we could do it this turn, but instead I decided to walk to be near it, and then recruit a couple more units to make the attack easier, thinking, well, Corinth won't have anything, there's no particular rush to take this town. Turns out they did have something. A couple of armies attack, plus, because I moved close to the town, the garrison of the town can also be involved in this, meaning we end up in a disadvantageous situation. I'm just going to withdraw, so the main downside becomes that I missed a turn of recruitment there because all that will cancel the recruitment. Still, I was able to get the recruitment through on the next turn. Then I attacked. The enemy had split up a little bit, just leaving a few units to defend this settlement. Not enough to stop us, really. I needed to check the objectives to remind myself again that this is the place I need to sack, being very careful to go along with this mechanic. Normally it's the kind of thing I would totally forget, and I will be totally forgetting it no doubt, but for now I'm trying to do these sub-objectives. Time to make a settlement assault, where we're going to have the slightly counterintuitive attacker's advantage. Attacking a major settlement is difficult, attacking a minor settlement is easier than a field battle because of how it changes the AI. The AI wants to defend the settlement and they'll be very unwilling to come out of its defined borders. Meaning, if you happen to just walk up and stand outside of those borders and attack them, they won't try to fight back, and will obviously just exploit this to the max as the battle starts, raining sling stones on any units who happen to be walking around near the edge of the town. Here was a interesting case where against these swordsmen, the first volley of sling stones went into the entire unit, then all subsequent volleys were fired at only the couple of guys at the front, which probably caused more shots to miss than usually would miss. At least it kills them faster because it depletes the health of the frontmost guys. I seem to remember ranting in my other Troy commentary about the joint hit points and man count system and how those stats are linked together in a way that my ivory tower game design snobbery thinks is sub-optimal. But anyway, let's not rant about it in this series, just for fun. I ended up walking into the town, but only on the south side of the map. This unit of clubmen actually surprised me because they were somehow hidden despite just standing there in the road. And clubmen in the Radious mod are the unit that gets special bonus damage against axe troops, aka the only thing I'm using to attack them. So that's also sub-optimal, but we do have numbers, and numbers beat everything in the complex weapon counters shape, so that's fine. We've also got Diomedes, who can instantly hunt down the enemy hero and just go at him. Don't need to worry about that, we'll kill him and barely lose any health whatsoever. We take down that club unit with our sheer numbers and can now break on through to attack the enemy's archers behind. Also got some spears to sneak through and lock down these archers over here. We're about to win this battle around the enemy hero as the audience increasingly becomes my own troops. I think it's quite good, these matched combats they have for the heroes. They seem to be very distinct from the ones used in Three Kingdoms, and dare I say better. Even though they're still over the top and everything, it seems more appropriate being a mythological kind of game. Well, anyway, I haven't really thought about that take very much. We end up winning that fight as expected, and then we can push on through to the capture point, and at this stage the other half of the battlefield becomes relevant. Because I didn't attack the north side of the town, our troops just stood there because it causes the enemy to just stand there waiting for me to attack, but once we're on the capture point they're going to start going back to defend it. And now we have the absolute advantage because the second half of our army will rear attack the second half of their army, and our first half is ready to lock them in place from the front. Here they are coming to try and retake the capture point. They don't have the troops to do it, so this battle is effectively over. They have a second hero here who runs in and annihilates a few of our guys. Unfortunate, but he'll now be in trouble fighting billions of axemen. Here's where the animations look much worse when heroes are fighting in crowds. I also found another hero issue in this replay. I noticed that Diomedes gets severely slowed down as he tries to move through these allied troops. Your guys don't really get out of the way, and that can make a difference because your heroes are so powerful. Having them get stuck on your own units could cause you to be missing a lot of damage in the battle without really noticing it. Anyway, here we are after the fight. We lost basically nothing due to how easy it is to do some AI exploits on the settlement assaults. /use strategy if you want to not call it an exploit, because you are supposed to be able to do that. I just call it an exploit because it feels easy. And we got some dominance because I just sacked the place, so that's handy. I didn't want to sack it, but it's not the end of the world. We can still take it in the same turn. You just take it in a sacked state. So we'll then have to spend some resources making it go back to normal. We have plenty of resources though. We're actually quite rich at the moment. We have good starting territories, and I've made loads of deals as well to get some stuff. That's all very nice. We need to now finish off the Corinthians, but before we can do that, we get attacked by the Ionians, or they declare war on us, I should say. We can call in Sparta as my ally, but they can call in Athens, so this will end up being a much larger conflict. Ionia does slightly border us at the very top of our territory, but they're also kind of far away, probably more than a turn away from us, and Athens doesn't really border us at all. So it's going to be a bit of a slow start to this war, but it's more of a challenge than our initial war at least.
Diomedes.
But for now we will focus on that initial war. Still, we need to take down Corinth. I could do it this turn, I can attack them right now, but as I advanced I saw they had a little bit more stuff here than I thought they were going to have, i.e. they had more than essentially nothing. So attacking them wouldn't be completely trivial, and I figured maybe it's time to employ our economy to help out with this. We easily have enough money to put another half stack of troops into the field, I just haven't done it yet. So I thought I'll start building up a backup stack of spam to come in and just absorb damage and allow us to do easy auto-resolves, that sort of thing. Here they are making their way over. We can recruit as we move and show up with half a stack or something to do the business. In the meantime, Diomedes has Corinth under siege. This turns out to be the wrong decision because they just sallied against the siege after asking for peace here. And this means we missed out on the chance to do another settlement attack. If I'd just gone for them, we again would have had the defensive AI to work against. Now we're fighting the same enemies, but in a field battle where the AI keeps its troops together and generally knows what it's doing a little bit more. Plus, if it had been a settlement assault, I would already have the settlement by now, and instead of fighting these guys, we'd be making money during this end turn sequence off the settlement. Overall, this was the wrong move, and we'll see it actually causes some issues in a second after the battle. For the battle itself, I was very comfortable because I saw this map and remembered fighting on it before. There's a very easy plan you can do, where there's a rock and the edge of the map near the corner that form a nice big space to form up your army with both flanks protected. Meanwhile, the other side of the rock has a gigantic area for hiding troops. So we just hide a load of stuff over there, wait for the enemy to attack our front, and then go for a flank attack with the hidden element. In come some club warriors into my axe line, so they'll have that bonus against axemen. I don't actually know how important that bonus is, and it's difficult to work it out just by eyeballing it because the fights are quick and have a vast number of statistics determining the outcome. Very hard to predict what's really going to happen in a given fight, but whatever. We'll just hit them with some slings or something in the meantime. Our flank attack is gradually coming in from the left. I'm making a small attack on the right, mainly just to drive away the enemy's ranged stuff. Also on the right, we've got Diomedes taking down one of the enemy heroes. Again, that's fire and forget. We're almost guaranteed to win the duel, so we'll just let him hack away and eventually take out an officer. And here comes the first part of our big rear attack. Not so big because it's just young spears there who kind of suck, but the two-handed axemen might do some damage. Other units are coming in to support this fight against the enemy's ranged units, which is rapidly becoming the center of the battlefield. some of my line got drawn forward somehow, and now one of my axe units is being annihilated out there as it gets attacked from multiple sides. Not too good. Looks like Diomedes did win that fight. The enemy guy is skulking off into our back lines though, which will come back to annoy us in a second. And down goes our unit out there in the middle. That's not very useful. The rest of the line looking good though, just need to hack our way forwards. The last elements of our rear attack are coming in now as well. Looks like they're mostly hitting routing units, which means they're kind of being wasted, but I suppose that the enemy's already routing is a good thing. Still a bit of a fight happening here on the left. There's a hero in that blob that's surrounded. Diomedes is going over there to sort it out. There's also another enemy hero hiding in the bushes right back here, not really participating. I also couldn't find him in the replay. He's very hidden. Another sneaky hero trick is that the guy who retreated behind our lines earlier stops retreating and then starts fighting my slingers here. Looks like he's having trouble targeting them, and I'm just outright ignoring him. I was probably spamming attack orders on the slingers, which stopped them going into melee mode with him or something. So not much is happening there. That's probably a good thing. Diomedes is hunting down the enemy hero in this marsh over here, the other enemy hero. They had 3 on the field today. Soon this battle is effectively over as everything starts to flee. But this is one of the Total War games where you do need to chase down and kill everything. That's why there are still several minutes left in this battle replay. We have to run everybody off the field, otherwise they'll just still be alive after the fight, and we'll need to attack this army again in our turn to finish off the Corinthians. But they're essentially finished off now. They lost most of their stuff. It only registers as a close victory, but really it was very much our win. A lot of our units are barely damaged at all. I think it's because this game might have inherited the Total War 3 Kingdoms bug, where loss of ammunition counts as loss of army strength, and that's why it often gives you a close victory, because you used up a lot of ammo or something. Somebody explained it to me that way once. When we're back in control, we grab the free auto-resolve at Corinth. And there you go, that's our initial war over and won, but we've already got other wars to attend to. We also now have maximum dominance, and as the gigantic tooltip there explains, we can use that to confederate other factions. Or can we? This is where the confusing part comes in. I spent a long time looking through the diplomacy menu, trying to work out how I was supposed to confederate somebody using this. I believe the way it works is you have to already have the option to confederate them for whatever reason, and then you pick the option, they'll start saying no, you click the dominance button and that will force them to say yes. So the process requires that you can at least ask for confederation before you can use the dominance. As far as I could tell, there was nobody I could ask about confederation. Maybe you can't do it until later in the campaign, I can't quite remember. In the end then, I don't do anything with the dominance, but it's nice to have it for when we need it. We can use it to force through like bad trade deals or something, effectively just converting it into money. Speaking of money, I'm going to spend a load of money right now, or resources, in getting this non-aggression pact with Ajax, another DLC character, who now borders us to the northeast, so I was trying to secure that general direction. Whereas the northwest, not secure. As we can see, we do get attacked by the Ionians. By this point, my not very good backup army was here at our border settlement, but by the looks of that balance bar, it's not going to be enough to ward off invasion. This is a case where you could just auto-resolve and carry on, but I decided to manually resolve, to focus down a unit or two, to make it easier for me to then counter-attack with Diomedes in the next turn. So here we are in this brief battle. There's not going to be that much to it, although the balance bar looks much better in the actual battle for some reason. Another Total War quirk that happens sometimes. I'm sending the trash troops in on the right, the real troops in the middle, and then just seeing what happens. We don't have enough stuff to do anything terribly clever in this battle. My main micro in the fight will be telling the slingers who to attack. We can also get a chance to see the game as it looks in real life. Anyone who might have been unfamiliar with the game and thought my replays earlier are how it looks. In reality, most Total War games are just moving around circles and dots, and it's almost false advertising the idea that you can zoom in while playing, because you have to zoom in instead of playing, which makes it a lot more difficult because you're not putting any inputs in anymore. One day, they'll find a way to provide both services and make use of their nice graphics engine. For now, I'm going to have to make use of it by showing you replays, except in this case. We can zoom in right here once everything's dead and not really requiring any micro. I came down to look at my hero and noticed this river of blood he's creating. Here's a nice effect that comes with the blood effects pack or whatever it is that you can buy. It makes the water mix in with the blood or the other way around. That's quite nice. I don't think the other Total War games had that. Very suitable for ancient legends where rivers are running red with blood all the time. Now you can actually do it if there's a river on the map. In the end, we get absolutely annihilated, but we did successfully defeat one enemy unit, so it will be slightly easier to counterattack. And that counterattack's going to happen right now. There's not much to it, because our army under Diomedes is straight up better than theirs. We've got some experience. Diomedes has leveled up a bunch of times, and this probably buffs his troops. I can't quite remember what level up path I took, but in Radious you can get more skills than you normally can, so I have a whole bunch of buffs. I think I'm mainly buffing the axe units in his army, so we'll try and focus on keeping axe units. We did lose a couple in this auto-resolve. That's unfortunate, but it doesn't matter in this case, because we're forced to now stand still after occupying the settlement. We can just re-recruit 3 units to get back the 3 units we lost, and now the army will still be roughly as strong as before. Real life time saved by not fighting it, and that's one of the key parts of my Total War strategies, to play as much of the game in as little time as possible, because it can take a while. So after this, we'll want to be pushing up to the northwest to punish the Ionians, and that's what we'll be doing in the next part of this abridged series. Or is it? Well, things are actually going to take a bit of an inconvenient turn, as we'll see in part 2.